Welcome, podcast fans. It's time for the What's Up Bro podcast show, presented by J&J Production Studios, the home for all your entertainment needs. All kinds of great topics discussed every week, a variety of different themes offered, special guest appearances, prize giveaways, and so much more. Stay tuned. And now, here are your hosts, Sam Crow and Big Hoss.
Well, hello, good evening, everybody, and a happy Sunday to you all. And as promised, if you missed the episode last night, we have a very special episode here for you guys, a bonus episode tonight. It is not the review show, I will tell you that, but it's still just as good, if not better, I would say, in my opinion. And so we're going to get ready to dive right in here. Let's introduce our special guest for the evening. Let me get the microphone on so he can be heard and you guys can hear him. You all know him and you love him. He's back with us here. Our good friend and buddy, Ramsey Veitch of Impulse Martial Arts. Good evening, Ramsey. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm glad to have you. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with us. We're looking forward to this next episode. I hope you're excited as well.
Yes.
And for you guys, if you missed the series so far, you can go back and check it out. This is episode number 7 of Into the Martial Arts World, which I had to go back and count because it's been a little bit, and I know we've been trying to do this. Schedules have been kind of crazy, and you guys know we've been busy here. Ramsey's been kind of busy as well. So the stars finally aligned, and we were able to put this in for you guys. So we wanted to do that because you're also getting ready to leave for a vacation, I think you said. Is that right? Or a trip of some sorts, more or less?
Yes.
Awesome. So we were hoping to kind of plug this in before you went away, which is great. So it worked out for tonight. So hope you guys are excited. Bonus content, an extra special episode for the weekend. Just a couple of quick things before we start. We still pass along our best wishes to Big Hoss. He's still not feeling well. Feeling a bit better, but he's still recovering. Has been ill this weekend, so should be back in action next weekend. If you guys missed the post on our social media account, check it out. Our good friend, our mentor, one of our producers, Mr. J. You guys know him from the Sanitarium channel, the show at Ragnarok Radio Inc. on Spreaker, will be joining us next weekend as a special guest. And in addition to that, we will be having our other good friend, Miranda Maverick, who is hoping to join us sometime before the end of the year. If you guys don't know who she is, she fights in the UFC. She's been on a couple episodes, and we're trying to schedule something to have her back. So she has said she's quite busy right now, but we're hoping to have her back before the end of the year. So lots of great stuff for you guys. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. And, of course, with Ramsey being here, it's going to be the highlight for our year. We've had a lot of great guests on the show, and looking forward to next year as well. So with that being the case, though, that's all we're going to do for announcements. Let's jump in here. So let's kind of just recap a little bit to catch you guys up. We talked a lot about a bunch of different things. And one of the things we want to talk about tonight, which, if my memory serves, and I think the last episode we did, according to our records, was July, so I don't know how good my memory will be, but yeah, so I believe we touched on this a little bit, but one of the big things we want to talk about, and this has kind of been key, and if you guys know, if you've been listening, a lot of changes happening in Impulse 2 for this. I want to talk about children in the martial arts, I guess is the simplest way to put it. I know I've shared this before. I kind of wish I had started training younger. I didn't. I started in my early 20s for that one, which still isn't bad, but it always something to be said when you start younger, like anything else, whether you start with playing an instrument or anything. They always say children tend to learn better. So we're going to dive into that and get a little more specifics. We'll have Ramsey share some of his thoughts there and some philosophies and theories on importance of child training. Of course, you guys know we've shared this. There's been a lot of the children's classes going on at Impulse every week. Which has been nice. I've been attending there a bit to get some further depth of myself, just to kind of see it from a different perspective too, because you always can learn something, right? So that's always been beneficial. But we're going to talk all of that and more. And let's see, where's a good place to start? I guess the simple question we'll let Ramsey kind of go with this one will be, I'm just trying to think how to phrase the question the right way. So training martial arts training for children. So Ramsey, give us your take there. What is your thought there? Why do you think it's important, and why would you recommend to parents or anyone else to get their children involved in training at a younger age?
All right. The children, they learn so fast, and I think the best benefit that they can get out of martial arts for their children is essentially the idea that they're going to be able to learn really life-changing skills
Mm-hmm.
right out of the gate, and they're going to be able to learn it quickly and retain it potentially long term as long as they keep up with it in some fashion.
Right.
It's stuff that's really going to last with them forever. It's like learning your language, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really forget your language. So sometimes I come across adults who are like, oh yeah, I did when I was a kid, and they still remember stuff, you know. So that's really important. Now it's a little different from adults because adults are there to learn the all the intricacies of martial arts, or they
Yep.
should be,
Yep.
right? Children are just kind of there,
Mm-hmm.
and some children are just really outgoing, and all they want to do is just learn, and they're really bright, and they just have this enthusiasm about it. But most children are there because their parents put them there, and that's totally fine. Why put your kids in sports?
Yeah.
Why suggest your kids do a an instrument? Because we know that it's going to help their brain chemistry develop new attributes in their children that are going to be help mold them into wonderful adults.
Right.
Obviously everything's got to be reinforced throughout their life,
Sure.
but I mean the martial arts gives you just as many benefits as any other activity. So it's no wonder why parents want their kids in a lot of activities as opposed to just being home and drowning themselves in social media or on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube or in the TV or something.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely nothing but beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, and then here's a good question because I've heard this, and you bring up a good point, especially when you talk about sports. And so I'm not sure in your dealings with, especially in the children's classes, but if you have a situation or you ever have a situation where a parent might say to you, why choose martial arts over, say, traditional sports? And again, this is a broad question, but I think it's very aptly put because I feel like that's a common argument or common thing that's brought up to where a parent might say, well, if you're telling me my child can get exercise doing this, why should I choose martial arts, say, over sports? If it's one of those they have to pick that, how would you answer that, or how would you, for lack of better terms, sell it on why you would say you would recommend martial arts as opposed to a traditional sport like a football or basketball, baseball kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's really fascinating. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's much of a difference, and I would never recommend that they do martial arts over sports per se,
Okay.
or just any one sport.
Mm-hmm.
They're both very physical activities and more or less one and the same.
Sure.
So um, when children get put into something challenging,
Mm-hmm.
something physically challenging, like I had mentioned, even an instrument, right? It's still physically challenging. You have to learn
Yep.
coordination
Mm-hmm.
and new patterns of listening, new patterns of visualization, just being able to move your body, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And in sports, it's all the same, right? You have to learn how to dribble properly,
Yep.
right? You have to learn how to throw a ball. You have to learn how to throw a punch in
Mm-hmm.
martial arts.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily going to be something that I would say is better than anything else, but it's going to give them, the training is going to give them self-esteem and confidence, and it's going to allow them to learn how to think logically, overcome problems. Like say you're playing football and you're running down the field and you're getting tackled all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to learn how to overcome that by juking and jiving different directions and doing your spin or doing your stiff arm. They're going to overcome those obstacles in football, for example, and they're going to risk injury. So martial arts no different. Of course, there's always a potential for injury, just like in
Yep.
any activity, physical activity, even
Yep.
just playing on the playground. But
Mm-hmm.
but aside from that, the learning how to overcome challenges is a huge benefit for children in the martial arts, and we cover that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, how do you get over losing? How do you, which happens a lot.
Yep.
How do you get it? You can't perform this kick properly. Well, what do we have to do to overcome that
Mm-hmm.
challenge? Let's get you to perform this kick properly. Let's get you to perform this kick powerfully. Let's get you to learn this new terminology, Japanese
Yep.
terminology, stuff like that. So it's going to rewire the brain a little bit. It's going to get them thinking critically, and it's going to help them overcome a lot of issues, problem solve, etc. So, but most sports will accomplish the same thing, and just like other sports, we learn how to perform as a team. So we do some team oriented exercises sometimes,
Yep.
so that they can learn how to play with each other, socialize with each other, create good sportsmanship, so forth and so on. So, but mainly learning how to work with each other and be a team is really important. So we incorporate stuff like that every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a good point for that too, and really I think that's a tough question because it's almost like I want to say it where it's kind of almost like you feel like it's a trick question or it's a trap because you expect that the parents kind of looking for a reason to sell them in a manner of speaking on why they should enroll a kid in martial arts training or maybe trying to make you choose that, which same thing, benefits are good for both, and each has that similarity that can blend together, and also just like anything else we do multiple things to kind of be better well-rounded for that. So if you have a child who plays sports who can do martial arts, I know a lot of children that do that as well. You're only going to be better for that because you have the ability to learn multiple things and be multifunctional and able to really have the ability to grow, and even if you just choose sports or just one or the other sometimes too, which some do, there's not necessarily any negativity for that. But I mean, I think, and same thing, simple concept. When you break it down to the simplistic things, and obviously kids want to have fun. They don't want to necessarily have not structure is not the word I'm looking for. They don't want to get too technical with things because then they lose focus or they lose interest.
Right.
So that kind of develops over time. As they get older, you can kind of transition that from younger students who begin to get older and can take on those more responsibilities. You shared that. I've seen several classes where you've had younger students who you've given more responsibility when they start showing the budding aspiration of they can do more. So you kind of have that feel there, and it also for kids too gives them that sense of accomplishment when they can lead a warm-up drill, or you task them to do something specific that keeps them focused, keeps them involved, which I think is really great and very important. And a lot of those elements can transition not only just on the mat but off the mat. And so when you instill that with kids and you share that like with parents for that, and maybe even feedback. How do you get feedback from having parents say, "I noticed that little Johnny was doing this at home or doing this at school. I feel like that's being contributed from his training." How do you take that in a positive light, or what is your response to that kind of feedback?
Um,
Ooh, trick question.
I yeah, I rephrase the question for me, and I want to make sure I don't
Sure.
give you the
Yeah.
wrong
Okay.
answer.
Let's put it this way. So, the goals for training the students for young kids who take their training and take what they learn not just on the mat but they apply it off the mat as well. Have you had an instance where a parent, when you have discussion with parents, saying, "Oh, Susie, has been excelling in other areas, and she seems to do better. She's better focused because it seems like the training's helping. Maybe she's doing better in school, or her grades are improving." How do you look at that, and maybe not necessarily take all the credit for it because obviously the kids are the ones who are working at it, but how do you reinforce that and say that's a vital point of why it's good that they train because they're applying what they learn here to other activities like school and their homework, or maybe even in their sporting activities outside the dojo.
Right,
How do you
right.
how do you show
Okay.
that correlation there?
Yeah, so that'd be tough for me to show the correlation directly.
Hmm.
I guess that's something like somebody would have to do with a specific study or whatnot.
Sure.
For us, it's just like conjecture, right?
Hmm.
So I would say that the few instances where somebody has commented, "Oh, well, my son's not as shy anymore, or
Hmm.
he's a little more outgoing, or whatever," right? I'd like to say, well, the martial arts may have contributed to it, but there's no proof to that. But it's definitely possible because just like any other physical activity, it will improve mental and physical well-being. And so if you're shy, we we will do things in class to help overcome that. We'll never put you in a spot to where you're going to feel some sort of a way necessarily, but we highly encourage that shyness to go away and for you to exhibit leadership skills. It's hard to be shy and have leadership skills at the same time, you know.
Hmm.
So we try to do that to an extent to where it's comfortable, but we're not making kids cry with embarrassment. You know? Even if they know what they're doing, some kids
Sure.
don't want to do that. So just naturally though, with children, especially in the age range we train in, 7 to 13, give or take,
Hmm.
it gives them something to focus on, just like other sports do, and it provides that mental relief from daily school activities and so forth and so on. And with the classes being structured in a way very much like a normal school would be, we're looking for attention, we're looking for good performance. We want them to be comfortable, but have fun as well. Create friendships, teamwork, learning how to be fair and have good sportsmanship, like I'd mentioned before. But we want to give them good self-esteem, want them to have good confidence in themselves, saying, "Hey, look, you can do this." That's the encouragement we go for. Like, you can do this. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. And
Right.
some kids will say, "Oh, I'm not able to do this. I can't do this." You can, just not right away, and that's okay. And we want to encourage them to just keep trying, and to not give up. And that's one of the most valuable lessons that I think physical activity teaches you, is to not give up. Not like, yeah, you can't run fast now, so keep practicing and you'll run fast, I promise. If you can't kick now, keep trying. You'll kick now. Just like in adults, some adults have limitations or disabilities or what have you, and it makes it difficult for them to perform certain actions. And I'm not here to say, well, if you can't do this, you're never going to get to your purple belt or blue belt or black belt or whatever, right? That's not fair.
Sure.
And instead, what's fair is, try.
Hmm.
Do as best you can, try to overcome this thing. And if you give an honest try to it and you put some effort into it and you still can't achieve it because your limitation is too overwhelming, then so be it. There's more martial arts than just being able to pick your leg up a certain height, you know? But if my teacher said, "Hey, you know, if you want to become a black belt, you have to be able to kick yourself in the head, or kick a 7 foot tall statue in the head,
Sure.
um, I'm gonna do my darndest to be able to do that,
Yeah.
um, if physically possible. But at the same time, you know, um, if that's what it takes to excel in martial arts, if that's all my teacher thinks is important to learn in the martial arts, how to kick above my head, no. But I think, I don't think that'll be appropriate. However, the act of getting me to try is important, you know.
Right.
And I know I discussed this with you before,
Hmm.
but with my current instructor, like, I have no time. I barely have time to myself, let alone
Yep.
going to classes with my instructor. And he was like, "Ramsey, I want you to come to like 2 classes a week." And I'm like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. And he understands my schedule. He knows that I each and have my own school. He knows that I work. He knows that I have a family life, right?
Yep.
He knows that I have all these um, uh, obstacles in my way.
Hmm.
But with him, that's all he needed to say. And then what does that do? Well, that gets me to look at my calendar a little differently. And I say, okay, what can I do to accommodate what he's asking of me?
Hmm.
That's what my teacher's asking of me. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
So that's the motivation we want kids to do. We want us, you know what? Like,
Start them young. Yep.
look, here's your stripes here. I want you to go to this belt now. You're getting ready to test for your belt.
Yep.
Do a little bit more here. Do a little bit more here. Get a little bit better here. A little bit at a time, a little at a time. And that's what we're encouraging.
Hmm.
We're not looking for perfection at every single level. I'm just looking for improvement. And I think that's all you can really do with children, most average children.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think it's a good point and a good reference there when, obviously it's two schools of thought between children and adults, and obviously we think the adult life because that's where we are currently. Naturally, we think differently when we were children, but that's long in the past. We're getting kind of long in the tooth now. So, but instilling those principles, I think early on, and I think that's one thing I missed, and I wished I would have had I started training at a young age, um, can be very beneficial. And maybe children don't see it right away, which a lot of times you don't because you don't think that far ahead, or you're not really fixated or focused in that regard. But it's a good method to have. Now, in the same vein, this is a good question too, because I know we've talked about this, you've shared that too, I've seen it. Just like anything else, whether it's school, whether it's chores at home, not only do you have the issue with children who have trouble focusing, but and maybe more of those children that are really, for lack of a better term, disruptive, as in they have trouble focusing to where they're not paying attention, or they may be distracting during classes, maybe even outright. Again, I highly doubt this is something you've experienced quite this far, but outright either a refusal to really do anything or just seemingly off into space. So when you have that in that kind of environment, and we know it's very catchy for one child to have that, it's like a domino effect that can affect other children. What is something that you utilize, you do when you say, okay, there's one student that's just not into it today, clearly, and for obvious any reasons, it doesn't have to be anything specific. How do you try to pull them back to focus and at the same time not allow them to cause that ripple effect to be a distraction for other students, which again, it's common for that, but just so that you don't have this spiraling of total chaos, for again lack of a better term. But how do you utilize that, and even as a teaching moment, to kind of refocus and bring things back in the right direction?
right. So yeah, we do have a couple of students like that get like that. For example, like the one student is uh, necessarily super disruptive, but doesn't appear to be paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is he knows his stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of like the conundrum. It's like, well, I can't blame him for being smart and knowing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's just bored, and that's what I think it is. I think he's just too smart and he gets bored quickly. He just doesn't pay attention. But when he does the stuff and he knows the terms and everything, it's just like, well, I can't really blame him, right?
Sure.
But if he's disruptive, I can point it out and just say, please just hold still for a moment, or please stop disrupting the class, or something like that, in a very calm, soothing manner, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And but if we have a somebody who's a little more disruptive and doesn't want to really put in effort, it's a very difficult task, to be honest with you. We have to acknowledge, first and foremost, that there is disruption,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to point it out as disruption. So, with children, yelling is not really going to do it,
Mm-mm.
especially coming from a secondhand authority figure,
Yep.
right? So it has to be further acknowledged and disciplined on a family basis, right? Outside of the dojo.
Yep.
However, typically, you pull them aside or you let them know in class without disrupting the rest of the class or taking too much time out of everybody else's instruction to let them know, hey, you okay? Like, you're not really paying attention today. You okay? You with us today? Are you with us
Yeah.
today?
Yep.
And just let them know that we realize that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
When you have a student who's just kind of like, for whatever reason, is not wanting to participate straight up, and they just kind of stand there and they don't want to participate, I'll just let them stay out. Again, we move back into encouragement. We can work with the family to say, hey, look, like, he or she is not participating, and just straight up being stubborn. There's nothing I can do, right? Could I get there and marionette their arms and stuff? Maybe, but if I can't get them to participate,
No good.
short of capital punishment type stuff, right?
Yeah.
The old school grandmaster, get the stick out,
Yeah. Can't do
right?
that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Without that, without any kind of punishment that will actually,
Make an impression.
lack of better words, scare them,
Yeah.
into being able to do stuff. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? So we have to just do it in a very calm way, and just get that help from the parents, and let them know that, look, you're not participating. Here's an example. I'll say, look, so and so needs a partner. Everybody else has a partner, and so needs a partner. Will you please be their partner? Because that's we're all trying to be together. So we're encouraging teamwork and being social, and just helping out fellow man or woman, and just helping each other out, and just being there. And I'm like, for example, hey, if you don't want to do the technique, that's fine. Could you please just help this student out and just be the uki for them? Is that okay? If I still get a refusal, I'll just say, okay, I'm gonna have you just step out, and I'll work with them. No big deal. I try not to waste an exuberant amount of energy on the students that don't want to give us the time of day.
Right.
And and it's not because I don't want to try. It's because there's not much you can do.
Sure.
If I went to a martial arts class as an adult, and I just stood there and said, no, I'm not going to practice. I'm just going to watch today, right? But I'm going to be on the mat, right? How long before my teacher says, look, Ramsey, if you're not going to participate, why are you even here?
Exactly.
If you're not going to get on the ground and start grappling, why are you even here? You can't just watch every day, right? I mean, he'll want the money every month. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
but it's not going to benefit me. And as an adult, I can understand that. But as a child, they don't necessarily understand cause and effect. They don't understand consequences, right? They don't realize that what they're doing, that stubbornness, or that unenthusiastic way of being during class, is hurting them.
Yeah.
And especially at that age, you could explain it all day, and it's philosophical. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to understand. It's going to go right over their head. They might be like, oh, okay, yeah, but they're not going to really understand it. And we have to acknowledge that that kids are stupid, right? Because they just don't know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So we just have to work with them the best we can. A majority of the time, the kids are all just fantastic, and they tensioned, and you just have to do little disciplinary things.
Sure.
But setting a good example in class, and setting standards and expectations is key. So don't be afraid. I researched a lot of stuff before starting a kids program. I talked to my instructors. I still talk to my instructors. I talk to other instructors through networking. I've done so much research, videos and reading and all that stuff, and you get a lot of tips and tricks, but ultimately the common consensus was if a kid is acting up beyond your control, you might just have to say bye. It's not worth it.
Right.
And it's not fair to the fellow children of the class to have them in there anymore.
Yep.
And I agree 100%. So
Well, we
so it'll what they have needed. It is what it is.
we do want to put a disclaimer there. Just it is a philosophical point, but Ramsey's not saying your kid is particularly stupid. It's just the
Well,
mentality. It's just the idea they don't learn to the same level that we do. They look at it differently, and I think that's a key thing too. When you take that, no matter what who the kids are, what the environment is, the learning curve is obviously different. That's pretty self-explanatory right there, and same thing as we said earlier too. The adults have a different mentality. There's more of. I feel like there's more pressure there because you do get more technical. You do have a higher expectation of we should know more because obviously we have a different mentality to learn more and to take more in. As opposed to the kids where even just grasping basics and grasping concepts and moving and flowing and having fun with it, which is a great stepping stone, a great starting point. um, it's obviously it's different there. And part of training, we've mentioned this throughout doing these episodes too, how much it's important to really challenge yourself and really push yourself to grow and to achieve those next levels, to keep moving, not to be stagnant. And for kids too, regardless of motivation, whether they're seriously into training or they're just having fun, or they are, whatever the concept there is, we are, we owe them that to really work at that. So, I think those are some good valid points, which we're going to dive into a little bit more shortly. We're actually going to get ready to take a break in just a moment because, yes, indeed, we are running out of time and we have to reset. So, but valid, interesting things to think about. And if you guys listening at home, if you're parents and you thought about getting your children involved in some type of training, whether it's one class a week, two classes a week, or just something on the weekends, hopefully this will help to encourage you. Because as we said, we're not trying to lobby and say that martial arts is, obviously it's not always for everybody. I think everybody has potential to learn and to train, regardless of your walks, your ages, and age, race, and all that sort of stuff, gender specifically too. But hopefully this will help you to think about it when you do some research and maybe some tips. Maybe you have a kid who's in class who maybe he wants to quit. We're going to get into that in a little bit too, because I feel like that's a huge thing, talking about kids learning instruments or playing sports, or a lot of times they start but they don't want to finish. And martial arts training is no different. I've heard a lot of friends who have kids where they love it, they sign up, they're into it. Maybe 3 months into it, they're like, what, this is just not for me anymore, kind of the deal. So we want to address that too, talk about that, and really just open up the idea to you where, and this works for both, adults. We're focusing on children tonight, but this goes for, especially older adults. So I think that's going to be an episode I want to focus on down the road too, is we've talked about the middle range adults. We're talking about children, but even for older people, which, we've seen, I know Ramsey knows, we've known a few people over the years that I've trained that are older where there's really no restriction there. I mean, obviously everybody has physical differences and dependencies are different, but the concept is that everybody has the ability, and it just depends. Motivation is big and everything else that comes with that. So if you're on that fence and you're not sure, that's why we're sharing these insights to kind of help you to kind of see, maybe if at least nothing else you try it. You enroll your child in that and go even with them to a class. A lot of the parents, sit there and they like to watch their children and participate in class. They stick around for that, which I think is great. It's a great way to involve the family naturally, as opposed to, parents who maybe just drop their kids off for, football practice and then they leave. Take that time and also encourage them. It's just as important for the parents as it is for the kids. You got to be that driving force behind the opportunity to help them to grow, and you want to be just as much involved, and it reassures them that you're behind them 100%. All those things play a factor, so that's really what we're diving into here. But we're going to get more into that shortly here. We're going to take a short break for you guys. We're going to get ourselves resituated. Perfect time if you need to use a restroom break. We all do at some point. We're no different, obviously. So perfect opportunity for you guys just to catch your breath there. Plenty more here on the show here. A special edition episode of the What's Up Bro podcast show brought to you by your one and only home for entertainment, J&J Production Studios. We're so glad you guys are here. Looking forward to more great content. As you guys know, we're working on a schedule, trying to get some more shows lined up. And hopefully, we're in the midst of our holidays-themed episodes now. We have Halloween this month, of course, Thanksgiving next month, and we're looking forward to our Christmas-themed episodes. Hope you guys will as well. We'll be having music galore. So we'll take a short pause here in that same vein. We're going to let you guys get yourselves resituated. We're going to come back. Plenty more to talk about here. Ramsey is still with us tonight there. And again, if you come in later during the episode, of course, this will be up once the show ends. It's available. Check out our link tree there. All the episodes are available to download. You can always go back to the beginning and catch that up as well. So stick around. Plenty more here as we continue to travel and trounce even further into the martial arts world to give you guys some great wisdom tips and insights and maybe answer some questions that you've been thinking about all along. So stick around. You don't want to miss a second of that. We'll be right back right after this.
Hey audio fans, are you looking for fun and excitement? Have you been searching for that special show? You know, the one complete package you want in a podcast? Then check out the What's Up Bro podcast show and experience what true entertainment is all about. Stay tuned and don't miss the action. Available on your favorite streaming services, including YouTube. Thank you for all your support. And as always, we'll see you at the show.
We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Break time is over. We're so glad you stayed tuned. Now back to the action as the show is set to resume.
All right, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is the What's Up Bro podcast show brought to you by J&J Production Studios, your one true home for entertainment. It's a bonus episode, Sunday night, October 15th. We have with us our good friend Ramsey Veitch of Impulse Martial Arts. We're diving back into the martial arts world, talking about children and the importance of training and what all that has to entail. Trying to get Ramsey back in here. Our software and our service here is not letting us do that just yet. Waiting for the ability to do that. So we'll get Ramsey in here in just a second. Do want to just remind you guys, if you are just tuning in, we got some special things coming up for you guys next weekend. We have our good friend and one of our producers and one of our mentors, Mr. J. You guys have heard the Sanitarium Show, Ragnarok Radio Inc. Proud partnership with them. Check it out. We'll keep you guys posted on that when we have more details. We are looking forward to that. And we also have our other good friend, Miranda Maverick, UFC fighter. She will be joining us hopefully at some point before the year is over. We're looking forward to that. So keep your eyes peeled if you haven't already done so. Follow us on social media. Check us out, linktree.com/J_J Production Studios. All of our social media accounts are there where you can get the latest updates that we will post for you guys to keep you in the loop. So we're just waiting here to see if... Oh, this is going to be a butt now. Apparently, and I even just updated this all during the commercial break, so I kind of gave you guys a bonus track there. We're going to see if we can get this rolling again and get Ramsey right in here. This is the only pain about this kind of thing. It works great, but when you're using anything that's free, there's always limitations. You guys might have heard that too for that one, so this is no different, unfortunately. So, still holding me on a cliffhanger. We are trying very hard to get this up and running, and I'm going to see if I can get Ramsey back in. I may have to share. I'm going to probably just send another link just to be safe. I think the existing link might be there. So we're going to dive back in here in just a moment. Again, this is being very temperamental. It's being a butt. And there we go. Let's see if I can start the video here. Okay. Let us, participants. I'm going to send another link. Even though I already did that, I don't know if the link is still good. This is all different, so I want to send this out to Ramsey real quickly. We should be able to get him back here relatively quickly and maximize our time. This is the thing that gets really, really irritating and annoying. So bear with us here just a moment. Sent that out there. I tell you what, there has to, whenever you guys, and you guys might know this too, especially if you do a lot of things with technology and stuff, you know, there's always some kind of caveat. There's always a glitch of some sorts, no matter what you do or how hard you try. It just never seems to be the case where anything can work perfectly. So we roll with the punches, literally, no pun intended for the topic we're talking about tonight, but yeah, so let me see if I can send Ramsey a message. He might be trying to log back in here too. I'm going to see. I know he doesn't check Facebook too much, but we are going to try that. I'm not near my phone. If I have to run upstairs, I will. I have to switch that out. Blah, 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 blah. Again, this is the bane of our existence whenever you have, let's see. Whoops. I may have to... Let's do this. Our clock is ticking here. Let's do this. Why don't we... I'm going to wait just another moment and see if Ramsey can hop in. If he does not, then I'm going to run up because I know our time is precious and the clock is ticking already. So hopefully we'll get it right one day, you guys. We're still experimenting. We are still trying very hard to to do this and get it right. Get it right the first time, naturally. Let me see. Let's do this. Let's play a bonus track for you guys. I want to find a good longer one. There we go. Just to make sure we get Ramsey back when we communicate with him. So we might interrupt it briefly if we have him back. We'll play this just to buy us a little time here. So pardon the interruption. We'll be right back. We may end up, again, cutting off the track. If we get him in here, we're going to jump right back on because we want to maximize our time. So enjoy this. Hopefully we can rectify these technical issues, and we should be back momentarily. So stay tuned. Don't go away. I promise. We will get this back and running in no time. Hang around for us. 1 second.
Break time is over. We're so glad you stayed tuned. Now back to the action as the show is set to resume.
All right, you guys. Sorry about the interruption there. I think we got it straightened out. Let's get Ramsey back in. I think I got to get the audio going. There we go. Do we have audio? Did I just close it out? Shame on. Oh, there it is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry about that.
All good.
So apparently this is a new feature where, and I seriously think it's a ploy because obviously they want you to subscribe, get a subscription here. But whenever the meeting ends, now I don't know. Did you use the same link or did you use the other one that I sent you?
The second one.
Okay, so that helps for my knowledge. All right, so I have to resend it. So apparently now, and I just upgraded Zoom during that, when you end the free session, which is what we use, you have to wait several minutes before you can start another one, which is a new thing we haven't had happen before. So at least now we know. So at any rate, we got Ramsey back. Let's get back in. So that should happen again. I think we'll probably have enough time, at least towards the latter part. We have enough for the rest of the evening. But that's a good note to self so that I remember that, because it just gets ridiculous. Anyway, before the break, though, we were talking about a lot of involvement with children and training, and a lot of the pros and the cons and difficulties of that. There's a lot of variables there that you have to consider, and you mentioned that before we broke too, how much research you did. You didn't just jump in willy-nilly like, I'll just figure this out as I go. Never usually a good idea, just especially in this case. There's a lot more to dissect with that. So when you research and during your research, what are some things, and especially now that you've had, like, the kids classes have been running for a little while, what are some of the things that you found were beneficial, that were helpful, that helped you prepare? I mean, of course, you incorporate some of your own style and variations in it, but what was some of the big things that were key when you said, I want to look at kids classes, but I want to research first? What was something that really helped you to make that decision to open it for the kids?
It took me some time because I had experience teaching children back when I was assistant teaching at my old instructor's training facility. So that got me into it a little bit. But I wanted to make sure that I had the information in hand, that I wasn't going to just start a children's program for any other reason other than I wanted to enjoy teaching children. So
Right.
with my dojo being relatively new in the Easton area, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. So I'm one of those people who likes to just do things, and if I don't get that internal motivation in my brain, that the click, if you will, that just says, hey, that's it, we're doing this, right? If I don't get that, then I'm probably not going to do it. Because it's kind of my way of not second guessing myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to commit, and if I'm going to do something, I want to do something right and for the right reasons. So it took me quite some time to think about it. I talked with fellow students. Like I said, I consulted with so many other people, and I researched it and all that stuff. But after I made the determination of I'm going to open, I made the determination a good almost a year before I even decided to start the program.
Right.
So it's not like I just thought of this and said, I'm gonna start teaching kids next week. Let me put out an ad or whatever, and it wasn't like that at all. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge that we're accepting as instructors.
Yep.
But aside from that, it really is fun, and it's I'm learning at the same time.
Sure.
It's really a great thing to develop this peer relationship with the children and even the parents, and they're wonderful creatures. I'll tell you that much.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, to do that is, I think, a privilege.
Absolutely.
To help mold the generations to come is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
But again, a lot. I can think of a whole bunch of things, I guess, now, but before that, it was more just, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this, and I am, and I hope it shows when I teach, So I got a couple students on board to help out with classes, and from there it was a wrap. We wanted to start this journey of helping out the next several generations.
Yeah, I think that's really key, and we talk about it a lot, and that was a big motivation for me too, is getting that blend in there, because we often don't think about that. We don't think about, I guess, because we're still living in our generation, as it were. So, and obviously we haven't gotten super old where we start thinking about, life after, who's gonna, carry on when we're gone. Because at some point that's gonna happen. It's the natural law of order of things. But, that's really, I think, a knowledge that gets lost, and it's an opportunity where I say this too because I've worked with kids a lot in different capacities, and it's really true that you learn probably a lot, just as much, if not more, from kids than you actually teach them, in a manner of speaking. So I think it's a really good benefit for kids as well as adults. That's that mutual growth factor, and when you do forge those bonds, as you mentioned that there too, that also has important significance with taking things beyond the mat, and establishing the important relationships there. And I think that's a heavy thing when you're working with kids, where you have to build that repertoire, because a lot of times kids are standoffish, and adults can come over as intimidating, and sometimes it doesn't work and they're not willing to gravitate there. So I think that's huge and that's essential. And I've kind of been on both sides of that. I've built some good relationships there, working with children, volunteering, doing different things. But it can be a challenge. But when you get that reward there, it's really beneficial. Which was going to be another question of, if you would say that to people, what's the reason why you do it? Because everybody has different interpretations of what it's like interacting or working with kids, other than your own, of course. If you have your own kids, you're kind of stuck with them. So that's a little bit of a different sentiment there. But looking at that, and that's a great question to bring up too. And I asked this because, again, everybody has a different philosophy. But when you sat and thought about it, and when you think about it even now, what does that statement mean when you say, you want to help mold and shape the minds of the future generation? And obviously we don't have to waste time or get into specifics of the importance of it. We know obviously it is, but why is that for you, if you summed it up, a focal point in doing that? And I guess you could say it's fair that you're trying to get kids started off in the right direction, but and also, and part of that too is, why do you think that's something that in the teaching realm, not just in martial arts in general, why do you think that that's something that gets lost in translation, where adults don't think about that, and why they should? What is your take on something like that?
What do you mean by adults don't think about what? What was that?
So in a lot of cases, I've heard adults they'll say, it's either a waste, or maybe these kids don't learn today, and there's really no, or they like in a teaching case, for some teachers do old school, they care about the kids and want them to educate. Then there's some that say, well, I'm doing my job, I'm just kind of punching in and out, regardless of am I enjoying my job, am I being productive, am I inspiring future generations, or am I just trying to earn my paycheck and go home?
All right.
Because there's different the motivation isn't to enrich the minds of the future. It's just they don't maybe see the value of that, or it's not an important thing. And why would you say to someone, or what is your take on this is important, and why I focus my time for that, because I want to enrich these kids? And why should other adults that are looking past that and saying you're not focusing on that, why is that important?
Gotcha. Yeah. Obviously the kids these days, they're going to need guidance. They're going to need
Yep.
physical activity. They're going to need good examples to live by, right? Now, naturally, the parents are going to be the main
Should be, yeah.
the main people that are going to be being that example for the children, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty lucky that the parents that we have are good examples, but I do know that there's a lot of children out there that don't have parents that are good examples,
Sadly.
and that's just that's subjective. It is what it is, but it gives the parents an opportunity to expose their child to something different, different viewpoints, different ways of exploring the world and seeing the world, and um, new ways of discipline, new ways of focus, and just these things that they're not doing, because they're every day, the parent comes home from work, or they're at home with their children throughout the day, or whatever their situation is,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a certain way with them, whether it's good or bad in somebody's eyes, doesn't matter, but they're teaching their family culture to their child. And I'm a believer that the more exposure a child gets,
Mm-hmm.
the better opportunities they'll be able to have, and the better um, likelihood of not being a tunnel vision,
Mm-hmm.
single-minded individual. You're right. So um, if you raise your child with one viewpoint, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's use religion as an example, because that's very common, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, it's a fact. I mean, you raise your kid as a Catholic, and by the time they're of a certain age, they're probably still going to be Catholic just by default,
Right. Yep.
right? Because they don't know any different,
That's all they know. Yep. Mm-hmm.
right? And it is what it is. That's what the parents want. That's what the parents get. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Sure.
The thing I disagree with is saying that this is the only thing that is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where I disagree, right?
Yep.
So if, I don't have children yet, but if I did, the the last thing I would do is say, look, this is what you're going to believe in, and that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's for me, it'd be more like, hey, you're going to be exposed to this, like this is our family's thing,
Sure.
but I want you to explore other religions, for example, right? Here, read about this, watch this, do that, and do it in a controlled manner, so they don't get, again, tunnel vision is just one thing, and then they can learn to think critically, and that's where it all comes down to, right?
Yep.
Learning how to think critically is important. So whenever I'm incorporating lessons and stuff, um, or planning lessons, I try to incorporate critical thinking as much as possible. So like, I won't always ask the answer to a question,
Mm-hmm.
or like demand the exact answer to a question. I might say, well, okay, if this is this, then what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's critical thinking, right?
Sure. Yep.
It's not just, hey, what's the answer to this question? It's more like, hey, if this is the left stance, right, and this means this, then what stance is this?
Sure.
Or what stance do you think this could be? Right? Without ever having even told them the name.
Yep.
Right. So I would do that with some Japanese terminology, for example, right? Based on the information that what could this be called?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then some students will be like, and they get that light bulb moment, right? And they go, oh, is it this? And I'm like, absolutely. It's so awesome to just
Yeah.
to see that light bulb click, and you can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with like techniques, or when they're doing something they didn't know they can do.
Yep.
That is a light bulb moment, and that is just a reward all in itself.
Yep.
So when we're shaping the next generation, I get an opportunity to participate in the shaping of the younger children, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a privilege that we had talked about before, and my job is to essentially make sure that my values and ethics align with that of the parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they see that I'm not here to influence your children negatively,
Oh, sure.
then we're on the same page, right? And obviously, I would imagine a martial artist teacher's not doing that these days, but you never know, right?
Yeah. True.
I don't impose views on children. I don't. There's lots of things I'd love to teach any child, right? But I would never impose my way of life onto the children of my class because it's irrelevant.
Yep.
But learning how to think critically is relevant, and that's what matters.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely agree there. I think that, when you boil it down that way, and again, it's a simple way to illustrate. Again, for lack of a better term, nothing really ever is completely simple, but it still kind of it helps direct that narrative there. Um, it gives you that it gives you that fulfillment to have that ability, and also as well that you are leaving your own impression in some shape or form for the students that cross paths, for the kids that you interact with. And I think, and I do that for me, like when anything opportunity with kids, it's not so much just the pat on the back experience, it's just trying to do something positive. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and you want to do your part to instill some kind of positive, especially for kids. I think that's goes without saying that's absolutely huge, and that's detrimental, especially the younger they are, the more critical it is. And you mentioned earlier too, attention. It's so importantly and so critically vital that we pay as much attention to kids when they're younger, even to the point where I know it's an old adage, but even when your kids are teenagers, there's always that funny saying where teenagers don't want to spend much time with parents. You're kind of getting in that age gap where you quote unquote you lose them. But even when your kids are in that gap, if you have children like that, whether you have your own or you work with kids like that, still take an interest in them and still invest, because that's another critical point in time where they're going to need that positive reinforcement and reflection and all that sort of things to prepare them for transitioning to adult life, which I think is critical as well. So all valid good points. And again, there's so many different thoughts and theories and beliefs with this, which again, I preface this for anybody listening to, doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that is being said that we're sharing. These are just illustrations of where we're coming from. We preface that all the time. We don't necessarily want to say that we are totally right, or it's just a way of looking at it. And some of you may agree, a lot of you may agree, maybe you don't, and that's fine. We welcome those different contrasts when we share things like that. And these are discussions that are sometimes hard to have, and sometimes hard for parents as well as adults to have, and teachers and whoever's involved. You have children in whatever capacity. I think that's definitely a large what's the word I'm looking for? A large it's not vague, but it's such a huge topic of things to talk about that you could go on for long periods to do, and I'm sure people have. I mean, we're not going to do that obviously too, because we'd be bored to tears. So, but again, it's still important to address that and go through those things, and hopefully some good will come out of that. So I want to use this time too, as we're getting closer towards the end of our evening. I want to pose this last question because I think this is good. We can take a little bit of time here to talk about it. You mentioned about preparing and helping to shape future generations. So I'm going to pose this question to you because since you were the ones who have brought it up, I think it's only fair that we shoot this across. And I want to see if I can say this without making it too broad of a term. How do let me see. Again, I know it might come off as too, I don't want it to be vague either. In your personal opinion, and from teaching and experiences and etc., what do you see? And again, I hate to use this term because it makes it sound bleak. Like, what is your thought, your insights on the prospects of the future generations? Again, not to make this too prophetic where we're trying to guess, but based on your interactions with that, where do you see these generations, especially those that do train and are involved in some activities, martial arts, etc., sports? Do you feel that that's obviously, again, a great encourager there, but do you see a lot of potential for a future generation amongst all the kids that are out there, in your opinion?
I mean, I can only, I guess, talk about the kids that I can directly observe and that I
Yep,
can know.
exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, so if I was gonna guess on just my on the students that I have, I, I think I think they're all. I'd imagine a majority of them are going to be just fine.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I've seen semi-successful people, seemingly successful people, people you think are going to go a long way,
Mm-hmm.
do the opposite. They either downward spiral, like just people growing up, right?
Yep.
When I was a teenager in high school, you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that person's going to do great, great, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, well, they're just doing this now, right? And then they're nothing to gawk about, right? Nothing as impressive as you thought. So a lot of the kids that I'm directly observing that I'm able to work with, they're very intelligent. Overall, they catch on fast and whatnot. Don't here's something here's something we try to get over as much as possible, and that's the idea of like video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them play video games, but there's a couple that just read, and I'm like, look, I barely read, it's not that I can't read, obviously, it's because I don't like to read. I'm a video, I'm an audio visual person, right?
Yep.
I learn very, very quickly
Mm-hmm.
from audio, right?
Sure.
But reading it takes me back. Like it doesn't do much for me.
Yep.
So I'm all about efficiency. But when I had one of my kids say, "Oh man, I'd rather be reading right now instead of at the dojo party."
Wow.
It's like you couldn't help but admire that kind of mindset.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And now at the same time, that's a learning moment, right?
Sure.
You say, "Hey, look, I know you want to read right now. That's enjoyable and that's commendable. It's awesome. But now's the time you get to spend with friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
You can read anything, but you're not always going to have time for friends and family.
True.
So do it while you can and have fun with it. Naturally, you're talking to a 9-year-old, right? So it
Sure.
doesn't mean much, but it might, and,
You never
and,
know.
almost everybody in the world, I guess, probably has that one or two time moment where they just remember what so and so said
Mm-hmm.
however long ago, and it just stuck with you, and it meant something to you, right?
Yep.
Or a quote from a movie or a TV show, or um,
Classics. Yep.
some motivational speaker, or somebody. I like you never know when somebody's going to turn what you just said into a quote,
Mm-hmm.
and live by what you just said. You never know when that's going to happen. I know there's things that people have said to me over the years that they never thought, right? They never thought that it would have influenced me as much as it did.
Yeah.
Um, but if I had a chance to tell them, hey, look, just so you know, what you said to me 20 years ago in the grocery line of a food store during lunch break
Yeah.
has really stuck with me. And then I've lived by this rule. They'd be like, huh? What? And that's a true story for me too. So we have that opportunity as adults, feeding our youth the tools and the different methods of thinking and the ways to live by, um, and it's really unique. So I forgot what the original question was, but
The hope for your
but
you're talking about your students. The hope for like the do
yeah,
you see a future
yeah,
for
the
them?
student, yeah, and looking bright, exactly. Yeah, I see a bright future for a lot of them, and statistically, not everybody's going to be exceptional,
Right.
and that's okay. But at the same time, you never know uh, who's going to be phenomenal and who's going to be bottom of the barrel. We all hope and we all expect our child or the ones that we foster
Mm-hmm.
to be the best,
Sure.
right? We all expect nothing but the best. Like, well, we're good, so that means they're going to be good, And if that was true, then my brother would be would be a fantastic human being as well.
Sure.
Uh, me and him were raised the exact same ways. We were only a year and a half apart, but around teenage years, we took different paths, and that was
Yep.
the end of it.
That'll do it.
You know, and now I don't even know if he's alive, right? So, um, so that's so it wasn't a raising thing. Something else happened. You
Sure.
know, was it a mental thing? Was it a group of friends thing? Was it
Could be.
some sort of other influence? We have no idea, right? So I want to be that positive influence, you know. And when you're looking around, you're seeing riots and you're seeing uncontrolled kids and you're seeing bad in the world.
Hmm.
If I can influence 10 kids to just be good humans, awesome.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want. And of course, I know the parents are going to do that as well. That's not the point. I'm just that extra reassurance,
More
you know,
reinforcement.
that I can look, yeah, like, oh, I hear you're acting up. What the heck's up with that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not cool. You know, I want to be that I want to be that example and just let them know, like, this and this is not acceptable. Don't do this. Do this instead.
Yep.
You know, have the opportunity to share. And I feel like a lot of people would take that opportunity,
Hmm.
you know, to teach the youth, you know, and I don't know, the sentiment is common where a lot of people just say, and I'm guilty of it as well, to be honest, and you know, like, oh, I don't like other people's kids, you know, and
Honest. Sure.
and most people don't like other people's kids,
That's how it is. Yeah.
but when the kids are good, they don't seem to mind them.
Sure.
You know, they mind them when they're not being good and when they're a hassle and inconvenient. That's when they start being minded.
Hmm.
But if you had a 5 and 6 year old running around having fun, no problems, whatever, and they listen, oh my God, you're a happy human being. You're
Oh
not
yeah.
gonna you're not gonna be discontent with these children. You're gonna enjoy that time.
Hmm.
Um, and if somebody said, "Hey, look, instill some wisdom on my child," right? Only the worst of people would instill something negative into them,
Yep.
right? And again, a lot of that stuff's going to be just subjective, but but naturally, um, you're gonna want to promote something good because it's the future of the world, right? Why give them
Yep.
something negative like, hey kid, you know, yeah, the world's tough. Don't trust anybody, right? Is that good advice?
Yeah. No.
Oh, to some, I mean, although although it can be very true in
Yeah.
some ways, right? Don't trust anybody, right? Um, at the same time, that's not a great message to be sending people.
Right.
But also, hey, trust everybody is not a good message either,
No.
right?
Yep.
Right? To tell a kid, hey, trust everybody is not a good message. But
Yeah.
also saying trust nobody is a horrible message as
There's got
well.
to be a balance
So
somewhere.
where do you mean? So where do you draw the line? Do you draw the line at, oh, we'll trust some but not others? Well, what's the criteria now? Oh, well, and now you're starting to get into this gray area.
Right.
So um it's those are things you want to try to avoid.
Hmm.
You know, you got to learn. Basically, you got to tell them, hey, you got to learn how to trust people. You know, and you got to learn to trust certain kinds of people. People will earn trust. People will um, come trustworthy,
Yep.
and but you can teach them about benefit of the doubt and
All
know
that.
first chances and all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
That's what I would want to teach people.
Yeah.
Kids. Hey, look, you know, at first, don't ever trust anybody, but then learn to trust them,
Yep.
and if or learn not to trust them continuously. Like,
Yep.
that's kind of where I would lead into it. But again, that's my viewpoint
Right.
because obviously, logically, the other way doesn't work.
Yep.
Extremes one way or the other
The
doesn't
other.
work. So, but yeah, I mean, these kids um, are they have bright futures. So hopefully the martial arts that we teach them and the discipline and the focus and the attributes they learn are going to take them a little bit further,
Hmm.
in life. It's going to further their career somehow, or it's going to give them an attribute
Maybe.
that really makes them excel in life in general, even just socially or with with a significant boyfriend or girlfriend or with, a family member or whatever,
Some
you know.
aspect of life, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, hopefully they don't use my knowledge for evil, but that's always but that's always possibility as
Never
well,
know.
right? It's always a possibility. Now, if ever learned that one of my kids became a bully or did some bullying, you better believe there's going to be some there's going to be some repercussions from that.
Yep.
But I don't really expect that from my kids at least. But you just never know. Just never know.
That's true.
So
You can't be 100%
yeah,
foolproof. That's true. Yeah.
absolutely not, absolutely not. But we can do the best we can. Just like parents. Parents don't get training.
Sure. No.
Parents don't know anything better about parenting than the next parents.
There's no manual
All
for
they
that.
can do is be there. There's no book on parenting that is
No.
correct.
No.
So all they can do is just be parents.
That's
Teach
it.
the kids how to live the way they live and to
Yep.
live by the values they live by, and that's it. I mean, it's not correct or wrong. It's just is,
That's how it
right?
goes.
How many
Yep.
parents pick up a book on how to parent? And even if they did, would they is that book accurate? How do you know that book's going to be
Can't
correct,
tell.
right? Every
Yeah.
kid is different, right? All the genes are different. Everything is different. So I'm essentially doing the same thing parents are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm winging it, but I'm just doing the best that I can with
Yep.
the information I have in my life right now, and
Sure.
and then hopefully that's enough to be. I consider myself to be a relatively good human. So that's what I'm trying to shape them into while they're with me a few hours a week. So.
Nice. No, I think that sums it up really well. I totally agree with you there. And it really does put a lot of perspective, and I hope for you guys listening, this helps encourages you to get your children active. And again, it doesn't always have to be in martial arts per se, but it's a great opportunity to do that and a great chance for that. So even just sports in general, I hope this is encouraging for families there. And it really is a special thing. If you've even thought about getting involved in working with kids, do it. I mean, it's going to benefit all of us ultimately together. So, we're really grateful to have those insights. It's always a pleasure to have Ramsey here. Of course, as always, check it out, impulsemartialarts.com. All the classes listings are there. If you're local in the area and you want to come try it out, please feel free to do so. There's no obligation and no pressure of any kind. Come at your own leisure and check it out and see if it's for you. For your child or even for you as an adult. The adult classes are there great as well, which I will be seeing Ramsey tomorrow. Be there training tomorrow night. Come out and check it out. Love to see you guys there. And we appreciate Ramsey. Thank you so much for being here, giving you your words of wisdom there. We're looking forward to continue on that trek. We'll have plenty more stuff we can chat about, so I hope you enjoyed yourself and sharing that. But we appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. I look forward. I will see you tomorrow night. Normal time will be there, and we'll hopefully again you guys will come check it out. And of course, you can always go online. There's some videos of things that get posted there. Check out all kinds of neat stuff if you haven't already. It's really awesome. But for kids and adults alike, we'll get more into that down the road. I know I have a whole idea. I want to expand on this, but food for thought, and hopefully maybe reinforce some things you already knew, maybe gave you some insights on some other things. Either way, we want to, that's why we're here. That's why we have our guests that come on. We share a lot of topics. We want to try to educate people and be that positive light, like Ramsey was saying too, to leave some kind of great impression there. So we're so glad though you guys could join us, and we hope you enjoy this as a special edition bonus episode for the weekend. We do get a couple out here and there, and it just happened to work out, which is wonderful. We'll have more on that again very soon. Of course, you guys know, stay tuned for more other great episodes as we work on our schedule there. Lots of exciting things happening. Our fall festival here, our Halloween specials are in full effect. We got Thanksgiving coming up. And of course, December starts our Christmas season as we get ready to wrap up the year. It's been quite the year, 2023. We've wanted it to be a great year, and we've had a great run. And cannot wait to see what 2024 has in store for more. So as we get ready to wrap things up, we say thank you again, Ramsey. Have a great night. See you soon. Take care. All the best to you. Look forward to having you come back.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll be back for sure.
Sounds great. We look forward to it. Thank you guys, too, for being here and joining us. Until next time, of course, we love you guys. Appreciate all your support. Of course, you can go check us out, linktree.com/J_J Production Studios. You can find all of our social medias there. Please follow us. Make sure that you check out all of our episodes that we have. Like this episode tonight, if you came in later and you want to go back and hear it from the beginning, will be available to download. Check it out, Spreaker.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. It's available as well. Free to download. You guys can check it out today. You've been enjoying Into the Martial Arts World with Ramsey Veitch, who will be back. We'll go further down, plenty more topics to discuss. Hope you guys have a great week as everybody goes back to work. It is those Monday blues. Hopefully this will encourage you and inspire you a little bit to have some positive outlook in there. And remember, too, we got an extra special weekend coming up next weekend, so hopefully that'll give you a little incentive to work extra hard. The days will go quickly. They'll go even quicker once daylight savings hits, which we're getting close to that. So they'll be even shorter, but you guys will have something special to look forward to, and even more as we get content out for you guys. So glad to be here. Looking forward to seeing you all again very soon. Of course, be happy, be healthy, and be safe. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves. And as you guys know, too, Big Hoss is sick. We're looking forward to him being better as well. We don't want you guys to be ill either. So take care, be safe, and enjoy life. And find those positive moments. Find those silver linings. Young or old, no matter what walk of life you're at. Try to be positive and be a positive inspiration to others around you, whether that's work, whether that's school, neighbors, friends, family, doesn't matter. Just be that positive. Be that constant. And maybe you could perk up somebody who's having a bad day that needs you. So any way you can do it, try to do it. That's our words of wisdom for you. That's our Confucianism for the night. Take care, you guys. Sleep well. Happy dreams. See you guys again very soon. Good night and goodbye for now, of course, and as always, until next time when we see you at the show.
Thank you for listening to the What's Up Bro show. Catch all the latest live action on your favorite podcast streaming services, including Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. You can also check out episodes on the studio's official YouTube channel. Subscribe and become a member today. Don't forget to also turn on notifications so you'll know when new content is uploaded. Stay tuned and don't miss a single moment. We love and appreciate all your support. And as always, we will see you at the show.